Since it's the start of my birthday month, I thought that I would like to share something with you, something that I think will change or is in the process of changing my life. Uh, and ever since I started my YouTube channel, I've always wanted to help people. Uh, I've always wanted to use my troubles and maybe relate to you guys. Uh, when I started the line dance side of my channel, I obviously used that to affect a lot of people's lives in their line dancing, in their country, bar goings. And I just came across some information that has been really helpful to me. And it's something that has already affected me, but I basically didn't know. I don't know. Have you ever had one of those moments where something is affecting you, but you don't know how to put it into words? Like you don't know how to, like you don't know why it is, or you just know that it is. This was one of those things. So I'm not going to take credit for the idea, and I'm actually going to give credit to the actual person that I heard it from. But just know that there was an event that happened. Okay, this is how I'm going to separate this. I'm going to separate this into 3 different parts. The first part is going to be the video that I actually learned this idea from. The second part happened before the first part, but it was the practical example of why this works. And the third part of this video is going to be how I'm going to apply this to better my life. So here we go. This will be part number 1, and this is the concept of unchaining, breaking free and unchaining yourself so that you can become better at something. I play Call of Duty, like a lot of males out there, and I love watching Call of Duty commentators on YouTube, and one of my favorite is this guy named Drifter, and or Driftor, and he came up with this video called Unchaining. Actually, I don't off the top of my head remember what it's called, but I'm gonna put a link right here, and if you're a Call of Duty fan at all, you should definitely watch his videos, and if you want a little bit more insight into what I'm about to say, you can watch this video. But he basically came up with this video about unchaining yourself and becoming a better Call of Duty player. And a lot of people have done this. A lot of people have done different kinds of videos. But his video was it just made so much sense. And this, for all of you guys that play Call of Duty, or, like I'll try to, put this into terms that I feel like you'll understand. When you play a first-person shooter, you tend to do what's called spray and pray, and it's where you take a submachine gun that has a really fast fire rate that, you just have to hold down the trigger button, and then it just, like, shoots out, a million bullets, and, all you have to do is just kind of, like, have, like, a small concept of how to play a first-person shooter. You just move, the aiming reticle everywhere, and, hold down the trigger button, and eventually you'll kill something, and that's called spray and praying. Just running around a map and, just doing that. You're not trying to aim, you're not trying to flank positions, you're not trying to be tactical at all, because there's a big part of you that doesn't think that there's an actual tacticalness in when you play first-person shooters online. Nobody actually teaches you how to play. Nobody actually, sits you down and says, this gun has the ability to hit that person across the map. If you're using a pistol, you feel like you can only kill somebody that's like right in front of you, and you don't feel like you can kill somebody that's really far. You think that only sniper rifles are the things that have the ability to do that, and you think that, you just have like all of these preconceived notions. You have no idea how you're getting this. You just kind of assume. Another thing that you just kind of assume is your kill-death ratio. How many kills you get versus how many deaths you get. And there's nobody that's actually telling you what's good and what's bad. You just kind of, you go through your Call of Duty career comparing yourself to yourself. So if you get like a like a 1-to-1 kill death ratio where like as in like if you had 6 kills you get 6 deaths, or maybe you deviate from that and you get like 6 kills and 5 deaths, or like 6 kills and 7 deaths or something. And you think that like, oh, that's your average, and like you doing good is like 13 kills and 5 deaths. Uh, you just kind of compare yourself to yourself, and you say like, oh, because I got 8 kills and 7 deaths, that's good to me because I went positive. Um, and nobody really tells you like what's achievable and what's not achievable, so you just kind of you get stuck into this idea that you're creating for yourself, and you never fully realize how good you could potentially be. So he came up with this idea that you have to use a Kimbo TAC 45, or you have to use the gun. It's a pistol, and it's called a TAC 45, and you have to use it akimbo, so you don't have the ability to aim down sight. And it's just like 2 pistols in your hand, and you basically have to like basically the only way to kill somebody is if you like run up to them and like shoot them, like at really close range. And you have to do this. You can't pick up any other submachine guns. You can't pick up any other weapons. You have to literally go akimbo TAC 45s for seven games, and then after 7 games, you can go back and use your own weapon. Use your best class, use whatever you want. The reason why he said to do this was because it's when you handicap yourself, and when you take away what you're used to, and you're forced to think differently, and in order to be good, because that's human nature. Human nature, when you're faced with adversity, your immediate like response should be how do I work around this? Like if you know that you're going to be in a bad place for a long time, your brain just you tend to try to figure out ways on how to win still. His suggestion was that, his commentary on that was that for the first couple of games, you're just going to hate this idea. You're going to just, go negative, and, you're going to be really bad because it's something that you're not used to. But, going into game 3, game 4, you'll start to get used to it, and you'll start to get used to, you'll force yourself to become good at doing something bad. By game 5, game 6, game 7, you'll actually start to go, more even, maybe even positive. And the reason for this is because at that point you've already been with this for long enough to where you understand how this works, and you understand, like how to aim better, and you understand flank routes, and you understand just different aspects of the game that you would never think about, and you would never think to want to understand. By the time you get to your 8th game, where you have the ability to use whatever gun and whatever setup you want, all of a sudden you'll have a different concept of how everything works. You'll have this, everything will feel so much easier because you've had to work so much harder to become good at something that you didn't even know that you were bad at. You're basically unchaining yourself, and you're allowing yourself to you're allowing yourself to get handicapped, so that you can become better at a skill that you never thought you could be better at. And that's what this is all about. It's about unchaining yourself and realizing that you can be good at something that you didn't even know that you could be good at, and finding this really constructive, it's this really constructive way of looking at life. just as a practical example, I want to show you how it actually worked in my life. I work at Islands Restaurant, and I've worked there for 8 years, and I went from host to back server to takeout to server, to a server with better sections. And I've gone through a million managers, freaking annoying, because every time I get through a new manager, they have everybody's opinion of me resets. So like maybe I'll get a good repertoire with a manager, and then all of a sudden they'll leave, and then we'll get a new manager, and then I'll have to like build that up again. I became server. I've been serving for a good 6 years, and because I've been serving for 6 years, and because I've been at the same place for 8 years, I've become very comfortable at this place. I've started to slack off on my job. I hate the place. It became overly easy. I started doing the bare minimum just because I knew that they would never promote me, or they would never. I felt like they would never see me as anything more than what I was. We have 7 sections inside. The way that restaurants work is if you're the first person on is the last person cut, and they cut in reverse. So if you're in section 7, you get there later, but then you're cut first, and that's supposed to be your incentive to wanting to work up to higher sections. At a certain point, I got to sections 3 and 4s, and then we changed managers, and I was like a 5 and 6, and then we changed managers, and then I became like 6, 7, and then like patio balcony, and then I became like patio balcony only. Recently, about a month ago, they actually moved me back down to takeout back server, and so basically my daily take home in tips went from anywhere between 20 to 150 as a server to about 12 and 30 as a back server. And I just hated it. I absolutely hated it, and obviously, and for the first couple of weeks, that's all I could think about, just how much I hated it, how much I hated them, how much harder it was. At a certain point, I started working around that. I started realizing that if I didn't get a second job, I just had to stop doing things because I didn't have the funds to do them. I stopped going to country bars. I stopped eating, really. Like, I just ate whenever I really needed to. I stopped going out with friends. I stopped going out to watch movies. I stopped doing everything. And I just basically hated going to work because it felt like I was making negative money every time I drove 16 miles just to get there. I tried to get a new job, and that wasn't working. I just never got applied, or I never got hired. I never got a callback. I never got anything. So I've been at so basically for the last 2 months, I've been doing this shit job at a restaurant that doesn't appreciate me. And what's funny is that it's been helpful. And I never thought of that until the random serving shifts that they give me every so often now. I'll never admit this to any manager, and I'll never admit this to anybody that works there. But them making me a back server and them making me be forced to work harder to earn less all of a sudden made me a better server, to the point where now whenever I serve, I feel like I outperform so many people because it's so much easier to be a server than a back server. I work a 6-hour shift as a back server, or an 8-hour shift with a 50-minute break as a back server, and I'll make $50. I just worked a 4-hour shift as a server today and made $60. It's crazy. I feel like I outperform servers now. In my own personal life, I now have the ability to not go to country bars all the time, when there was a point in my life when I was just making infinite money as a server, that I was just going out and spending infinite money because I just felt like I could go out all the time. Now that I'm making like less, I'm starting to realize I don't have to go out as much because I don't have to. Um, my eating patterns have changed. I'm not, eating just because. Like, I'm realizing that all of a sudden, like, I can eat whenever I'm actually hungry and not, like, past that. Uh, but it didn't occur to me that I could actually be a better server until they handicapped me and made me a back server and made me work harder, and it just changed like every aspect of my life, including my serving life, to the point where every time I go to work now, and I still hate it, don't get me wrong, but every time I go to work now, I work really hard, way harder than I used to in maybe 5 years of that 6 years of serving. So it works. So this would be part 3 of this set of unchaining yourself and handicapping yourself in order for you to become better at something. I've been going to country bars for 3 years now, and I've always been socially awkward. I've always wanted to use going to country bars as a way to meet girls. That's never changed ever since the beginning. And the thing about that is I was never good at it at all. I never felt like I had that personality that a lot of people have. I've tried being on energy drinks, I've tried being drunk, and neither of them really work all that well. They just kind of make me a better person than I feel like I am without it. I've obtained a line dance knowledge that far surpasses a lot of people. I will never say that I'm ever good at two-stepping, but I feel like I'm better than a decent amount of people. I have the ability to two-step, and every time I two-step with girls, they always end up saying that they really like two-stepping with me and that I make it really easy. So I'm kind of decent at that. My line dance channel definitely helped me become sociable with people. But here's the thing about all of this. I could go to a club and line dance every single song and not feel and actually go home sad that I didn't two-step with anybody. Whereas if I two-step with a million people like that I can't even remember two-stepping with, like I can't even remember names or details of anything, and not even line dance a single song, I have the ability to go home and just think about that for the next like week, and it'll hold me over. It'll make me happy. It'll make me feel like I'm progressing my life. Nothing needs to happen. I don't need to get numbers. I don't need to get like dates or anything. Just the fact that I did that, met people, talked to girls. It just feels like such an accomplishment. Now, here's the thing that you're asking yourself. Well then, Elliot, why don't you just go and two-step and not line dance? Because of my work. Because I hate my work so much, what ends up happening is that because my work is just filled with people that don't appreciate me, I just want to go to a country bar and be appreciated. And the easiest way that I found to be appreciated was through line dancing. Coming up with my own line dance channel and having people recognize me from that gave me recognition beyond belief, but it also made me expectant of that, to the point where at a certain point I was almost getting angry when people wouldn't come up to me on some country bar night, when I would go out and I wouldn't talk to anybody and nobody would talk to me, And yes, this happens. It's actually very easy for it to happen. There are definitely times when I have the ability to just go to a country bar and just not talk to anybody, and nobody will come up to me, and I'll blame it on them, and I'll be like, how come nobody talked to me? When in fact I should be talking to people, but because I'm so set in using my submachine gun and being bad and you know, like pretending like it's the only thing I have the ability to do, and you know, like when I just start comparing myself to myself, and I don't start realizing how good I could potentially be, I get stuck. I get stuck line dancing as a crutch. There will be sets where I will just tire myself out so that as soon as, you know, the line dance set is over and a two-step set comes on, I don't even want a two-step, and I blame it on the idea that I'm tired, when in fact line dancing doesn't actually mean as much to me as two-stepping does in the bigger sense of the world. I like line dancing, I like teaching people, but ultimately I do want to meet somebody, and ultimately I do want that connection outside of a country bar, and ultimately I want that connection of somebody knowing me for something other than what I can teach them, than a skill that I can teach them. Ultimately I want somebody to know who I am as a person, and not as Elliot the YouTube line dance person, or the YouTube line dance guy, or the guy that teaches line dances on YouTube, or the guy that knows a million dances. I want them to know who I am. And so the challenge to myself is to go to country bars and not line dance, and handicap myself in the sense that to not use line dancing as a crutch in any way, shape, or form, to not line dance, to not use the idea that, oh yeah, I'm Elliot and I make YouTube line dance videos, here's my card, to not use that as like an opener, and to two-step with people, and to figure out how to converse with people. I hope you know that every time I say people, I actually mean girls. That's just always been my video blog thing. But to do something that I'm not used to, and whenever I get good at that, and I know it's gonna suck for a while, but whenever I get good at that, to then unchain myself and be able to use that along with being Elliot the YouTube line dance guy. And maybe it won't work. Maybe it won't just automatically get me a girlfriend, in the sense that, yes, I'm still a back server at Islands, and as much as they try to praise me, I'm still a back server at Islands, and it still sucks. So maybe I won't get a girlfriend, but I'll definitely feel a lot better about myself, in the sense that I feel better as a server because I'm unchained.